Arsenal are on the verge of signing a so much desperately needed striker in Viktor Gyökeres. What's happening, Nico?
It's a celebration.
I love it.
The Bane mask.
To be honest, that celebration is serious.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
So a lot of negotiations. They're coming down to the finer details of what could happen with this deal. But Jay, you're our legendary Arsenal member at this desk today. What do you make of Gyökeres going to Arsenal?
He really needs to hit the ground running. This is not a situation about give him time, bed him in, let him adjust. No. He needs to go in there and start scoring goals straight away, because when you look at the history of the Premier League titles, they always have an attacker that scored at least 20 Premier League goals. And that's what we see last year with Salah, we've seen it with Carlin. Arsenal need that if they're going to actually compete. But I'm happy about it, I am, but there's a lot of questions I still ask. Not many forwards from Portugal come out of the league and do really well, and he scored a lot of goals against the lower end teams. I mean, we spoke about it yesterday, didn't we, Phil? But ultimately, it is a positive. We do have a striker, we do have to believe in him, and then we do have to give him that service as well. If you don't know at home, I am an Arsenal fan, one of the biggest out there.
He is. I can certainly vouch for that. Just picking up on a couple of things you were saying there, Jay. It's true. I was looking at some of the strikers that have scored loads of goals in Portugal and then gone elsewhere and haven't necessarily lived up to expectations. We've got a really big example at Liverpool. Obviously, Darwin Núñez smashed in the goals and hasn't quite done it in the Premier League. In fact, he scored more goals in one season at Benfica than he has done in 3 seasons at Liverpool, so it hasn't been that easy. There are loads of names. Mehdi Taremi scored loads of goals for Porto, hasn't happened. Jackson Martinez going further back, so that's a little bit of a... Yeah, he scored loads of goals at Porto and it didn't work at Atletico Madrid. So that's one little thing. You mentioned about him scoring goals, Viktor Gyökeres scoring goals against the lower level teams in Portugal. I was looking here. He scored 39 goals last season in the league in Portugal, which is a terrific number. 17 of those goals, so 43%, came against the bottom 4 in the table. He only scored 2 goals against the teams that finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th. Didn't score home and away against Benfica, scored 1 penalty against Porto. So that's a little red flag.
What about 12 penalties altogether in 8 Champions League games and against top competition?
That's good. That is good. But we're talking about, and Jay is particularly focusing on sort of the league. He is obsessed with Arsenal, particularly winning the Premier League, and he's looking at consistency week in, week out.
Definitely.
That's just a little detail that I would look at and think, okay.
If you're reluctant, listen, I get you, because there have been examples of players going from Portugal abroad and it hasn't worked out, but I don't think it's specifically a trend, because you could find other examples, like Radamel Falcao, for example, was extraordinary everywhere he went after Portugal.
Apart from Man United.
Apart from who did well at Manchester United. Like, I think that's a Manchester United issue rather than a Radamel Falcao issue. But there's been several examples. The thing about Gyökeres, though, the rate at which he scores. Nobody else has scored that much. He's scoring a stupid amount of goals, like an abnormal amount of goals.
I agree with you. Sorry, Phil. I agree with you, but we do have to talk about the level of competition as well. I mean, the Portuguese league is ranked below the English Championship, and that's the 2nd league in England. But
Per Opta.
Per Opta.
Per Opta. Per Opta.
Those guys.
Those guys. Listen, scoring goals at any level is the most difficult thing in football, right? So let's give him his flowers and say, yes, he's scored loads of goals. But I think one thing that he's never had, he's not played in the Premier League and been at one of the biggest teams where teams will just sit in and you don't have space to run in behind. When you look at a lot of Gyökeres' goals, he's running onto things. He's running on in behind. The Champions League goals, like you said, especially against Man City, balls are being played over the top because Man City are pushing up. In the Premier League, a lot of teams that play against Arsenal, Man City will just sit there, play a low block.
Without a doubt, he has something to prove. Like, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be buzzing, because all signs indicate that this guy is a top talent and that he has that hunger.
He's not a talent, though. Was he 27, 28? He's not a talent.
Okay, no, sure. He has that prowess, right? Because he needs to score, and he needs to score now. We discussed on the show whether Benjamin Šeško or Gyökeres was a better fit for Arsenal, and I think we got to the conclusion that Viktor Gyökeres was, because it's about now. It's not about a project that you're building for 4, 5, 6 years from now. It's about scoring now, and it's like, this guy's either going to be a superstar or he's going to be a flop, it feels like, right? There's only 2 avenues to go through, because the expectations are so high. And you mentioned the championship, that it's higher rated than Portugal. Well, he actually did score in the championship. When he was at Coventry City, he scored a decent amount of goals. His output was pretty decent. And this is from a couple of years ago now at this point. But to prove that this guy has kind of taken steps in his career, and it's not like this is unwarranted. Yeah. So I'm excited to see how it translates into the Premier, in a high-pressure situation.
39 league goals last season. Do you know who scored 39 league goals over the last 20 years across Europe? Not many players.
Yeah, no.
Cristiano Ronaldo, Leo Messi, Luis Suarez, and Lewandowski. Those are the only players that have hit those numbers.
Maybe it sounds like we're being a bit negative. I'm being a bit negative, and I'm not. I just need him to hit the ground running.
And that's what
exactly. I think that's absolutely fair.
We're not like Chelsea. We're not like Man United and Man City that can go out there and spend 100 million every season. This needs to be
it has to happen now.
This has to happen now.
With Mikel Arteta and how he has everything set up. And I think that a lot of signs are pointing to the fact that he can do exactly that, considering he's coming off a great season, riding high, and he's kind of got the blood flowing in him.
And also, I'd like to add that Madueke coming to Arsenal as well will be important for someone like Gyökeres, because Madueke is one of those wingers that puts loads of crosses in the box. Saka does it on the right-hand side. He gets to the byline, he puts balls across, he comes inside, puts crosses in. But when Martinelli's playing, he doesn't necessarily do that. He gets to the line and comes back, or he's making runs in between the fullback and the centre halves. But if you look at these signings here,
that's a good summary.
I mean, Zubamendi, yes, he's very good. I think that's going to help give Declan Rice the freedom to go forward. He's one of the most progressive passers in the league. He's top 10 in that. He's top 10 in interceptions. So he's going to be very, very important.
You know who else? You have a new midfielder now. In Mikel Merino.
Yeah.
He can actually play in midfield now. Last year, he's got some very important goals for us as well. It was like, he scores. He's a really good finisher, actually. He's a really good finisher, but he's a better midfielder.
What's the latest that you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, really, really great insight from you guys, first of all. I enjoyed hearing that. The latest is that Arsenal are on the verge of finalising this deal. We should say it's not been completed yet, but Arsenal will pay $74 million guaranteed, with a further 10 million in add-ons. There's still the final little bits and pieces of exactly how many of those add-ons are achievable. And that's all that stands in the way of Viktor Gyökeres getting his dream move to Arsenal. It's the only move he's wanted. He's willing to forego some of his commission and his agent as well to get this deal done. And it should happen before too long. That is the expectation. And that he'll be able to join Arsenal for part of their summer tour to the Far East as well.
James, is this the biggest signing in the Mikel Arteta era at Arsenal?
No. I'm not sure it's even that significant.
Really?
You know, compared to Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, William Saliba was not one of his as well, but even a player like, I could argue, Martin Zubamendi. I think what we forget with Viktor Gyökeres when the pressure seems so high on him is that he's joining an attack that, at full tilt, the season before last, scored 92 goals in the Premier League alone. You know, he and many of the other players that Arsenal are looking at are ones that can potentially strengthen the 11, but also add depth and quality to the squad as well. They have one very good centre forward in Kai Havertz, and I don't think it's a given that Gyökeres will come in and be starting at Old Trafford and in those early season games. But of course, you know, if he is as good, anything like as good as he is, has been in a Sporting shirt, it won't be long before he takes that starting jersey. But it was a needed addition. But, you know, interestingly, at that sort of price tag now, I don't think it's one where Arsenal have to get it right in the way that maybe they did with someone like Declan Rice.
But I disagree with that. I think they need to get it right. But don't you think that there was many times last season where Arsenal are not particularly playing well, but you need a striker to sniff out a goal? And that's what we didn't have, because Havertz, you know, he come deep a lot. But I think it's more important than any signing we've ever had, because he can get those scrappy goals which you need. Don't you think that?
You'd hope, but Jay, I mean, I thought you really, and Phil as well, really emphasised these interesting challenges around Gyökeres and the way he's played and the way Arsenal's played. There's going to have to be some adaptation for him. You know, Arsenal don't get the space to run in behind very often that he excelled in. They don't play teams of the level that he scored most of his goals in. Everything you guys said was spot on. It is really important to add goals to this team, no doubt, based on what they had last season. And they needed a superstar striker. Gyökeres was maybe the best that was available on the market. But look, I mean, Mikel Arteta has always said Arsenal are not probably going to win the league by having that one player that wins the Golden Boot. He wants his team to spread the goals around. When they've really pushed for the title, it's been Saka getting 15, Ødegaard, Martinelli the same. And I kind of think that's what we'll end up seeing from Gyökeres.
But one thing that I see, and I've noticed, like last season, for example, when Ødegaard is not on it and he's not scoring and he's not getting them assists, the only player really that has been consistent over the years is Saka. When Saka gets injured, like he did last year, who's our goal threat? And that's why I believe Gyökeres, this season, this signing, is one of the most important signings for the last 3 or 4 years. I really do, because we need someone that is going to play down the middle.
Expectation
that's going to score them
signing,
goals.
right?
Because even though we had Declan Rice, again, friend of mine, I really like him. He is our captain. He doesn't wear the armband, but he's a captain fantastic that leads the team. But when you look at our players we've had, Partey, Jorginho, yes, they're nowhere near as good as Declan Rice, but they can fill that void. We don't have no one up front that can fill that void.
Well, now you have.
And now it looks like we do, yeah.
Potentially. James, thanks so much for hanging with us. We really appreciate the insight.